Joining us now is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, a Democrat who serves on the Judiciary Committee, who made a big public stink about the fact that these transcripts ought to be released. Sir, thank you very much for your time tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
Good to be with you.
First, let me ask you about the process by which these came to light. You and Senator Blumenthal, I think above all others, have been very articulate in making the case that these transcripts should be released, that Senator Grassley was wrong to be holding them back from the public. What do you make of the decision by your colleague, Senator Feinstein, to just unilaterally release them today?
Well, I think she made the right call. The Senate Judiciary Committee has been essentially divided by Chairman Grassley saying, look, we're going to do our own investigations on the Republican side, and you should go do your own investigations on the Democratic side. So given that, and given the, I guess, misleading way in which some of this information has been handled in the past, I think the ranking member, Senator Feinstein, felt that it was appropriate on the Democratic side for her to release the actual transcript of this information, which I think helps rebut a lot of the narrative that has been built around a very few selected facts. And frankly, the best way to do that is to simply let the American public see what this guy actually said. It puts it into a very different context.
This information in this transcript is obviously new to us in the public. It is not new to you and your colleagues on the committee, because this was testimony before your committee and this information has been available to you. Can I just ask about Senator Feinstein's assertion today that nothing in this report, meaning the dossier, has been disproven? The witness, who's the subject of this transcript, Glenn Simpson, also says that in the year that this dossier has been public now, none of it has ever been proven to be disinformation. Do you share that belief that nothing in the dossier has been conclusively disproven?
Well, I think there are a few typographical things. Alpha Bank is spelled a different way. And there's a location, Prague, where a meeting was asserted to have taken place, and I don't think it can be shown that the individual was actually there, but that could be a question of just getting the geography wrong. Mm-hmm. I think what you have here is a dossier that was put together as a draft initial intelligence product by one of the senior people from the London desk of MI6 looking at Russia. And so he's a very credible person. He's a person who our law enforcement community and our national security community have relied on for analysis and information fairly regularly. So he's not an unknown, and he comes in, I think, with a very thoughtful and thorough report, but it is a first cut. So there are going to be likely some errors in it. What's most astonishing is when you consider how politically charged this is and how fraught this whole investigation is for the Trumps, that with everything that the Republicans have had to level at this report, we're down to discussing, was the meeting really in Prague, and did you spell Alpha Bank right? So against the kind of pressure that's been brought to bear against the report, and considering that it was only offered as a preliminary intelligence survey, I think the report's held up damned well.
We've seen some evolution on the subject of this report among your Republican colleagues. As I pointed out earlier in the show, in August, shortly after this testimony was first given, Senator Grassley seemed amenable to releasing this information. He said he didn't see any reason why he would vote to keep this information from the public. Indeed, he told constituents at home in Iowa that he would allow the committee to vote on whether or not this should be released. At least one other Republican member of your committee told us that he also, Senator Hatch, would vote to release it. Since then, Senator Grassley changed his mind. We've had that sort of an evolution. We've also seen a little bit of evolution just today since this was released. Senator Graham today made comments that he essentially is glad that this is now out in the public record. He had not previously been saying it should be released. Senator Cornyn from Texas is also saying essentially he's glad this is out now. Where do you assess your Republican colleagues in terms of where they're at on the Russia investigation writ large? Your speech tonight on the Senate floor was scathing in terms of the way they've tried to divert the Russia investigation into chasing other kinds of rabbits, as you described tonight.
Yeah, that goes back to the famous Senator Sam Ervin in Watergate talking about, you know, when you try to go out on a bear hunt, the people who don't want you to get the bear try to get you chasing rabbits instead. And so I went through a list of a lot of the rabbits that the Republicans have put in front of us and in front of the public to try to divert what's going on. This came into that world when they were able to begin to create the narrative that somehow the Russians were not only going after Hillary, but they were going after Trump. They weren't trying to help him. They were going after both of them, and that the Fusion GPS contract and the Steele dossier were somehow involved in all of that. And I think at that point, things got a little bit complicated for them because that departs from the facts as disclosed by this transcript. You have to take a little bit of information here and a little bit of information there and build a narrative around them that the real context explodes. And I think that's been the difficulty, is that they've built this narrative, or at least some have built this narrative on a very selected little set of facts. But now that the whole thing is out there, the story that they were shopping just doesn't stand up.
If the argument is well run, the people who have the facts on their side should win the argument in the end and persuade the people who had a misunderstanding of the facts. Just
particularly if what started with is an incomplete and selective set of facts chosen for the purpose of a particular narrative.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, thank you for being with us tonight, sir. Really appreciate your time tonight.
My pleasure.
Thanks. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.